Now I'm seeing just 24 students. What is happening? This is past 4. So I waited for 15 minutes before I joined, or would I say before I started the class. Can I hear from the class rep, please?
Good evening, ma.
Okay, good evening. Please, who am I speaking with,
The
please?
class rep for ERHRM ICA, ma. Year 3.
No. I gave it to 2 of you. There's another class rep too that I
Oh,
gave. Yes. So for all
I think Sunshine also.
Okay, so are you sure your classmates are all here? How many are you in your class? I think you are 60 something.
62, ma.
So we only have 26 here. I hope you know attendance also count for your classes. And the fact that it should be a recurring class, Zoom will actually gather the attendance for me. And these are the things Zoom would do. It would inform me when members of the class enters and when anyone leaves. So please inform everyone they have to attend the class. So someone said he's on transit. I hope you know you are Mr. Sunday. If I would allow that go today, that should not happen next time. Okay, please. This is a class that you have. We actually did this for the benefit of, I want everybody to be able to participate. If you're on transit and you are in a class, you cannot fully participate. And that will not be very good. It's not fair enough. On a lecturer that had prepared for the class, I won't get good feedback. Okay, so as it is now, I'm getting just 32 students. Inform the others to join. Because I don't think it would be nice for IC students to actually be, anyway, I'm going to reserve that. All right, so those that are here, okay, the way I do online classes and that it will work for us all is that use your chat box. As it is, I want you all to please mute yourself. Please mute. And you should please use the chat box. If you have any question for me, if you have any comments, if you think, oh, you need to say something, you would like that I repeat myself, I'd like you to put that in the chat box. So by so doing, it would help me. It would help me to get feedback without you interrupting the class. Okay, please make use of the chat box. And before we start the class, let me start sharing. Okay, I hope you all had listened to the class, the regular students class that I sent to your class rep. Please, I want responses from chat in the chat box. Have you all listened to the YouTube class that I sent? Or you didn't get the class, the YouTube link? Let's know if the problem is from the class rep. Okay, so Ogbogo said he got it. So okay, so who is in Sunday Owuka's class? I think Sunday is the class rep for which of the departments, please? Can use the chat box. Sunday is the class rep. Sunday Onwuka is the class rep for which of the class? Okay, actuarial science. Okay, so I think Oyelami just spoke now. Okay, so we have actuarial science here. So if Sunday says is in transit, so you should be able to type in something. So Sunday, I'd like you to type in the number of your class, your colleagues. How many are you in class? Okay, so the other, is Oyelami the class rep? Oyelami Ayomide. Okay, so Oyelami, how many are you in class? And it's what you are representing, which of the departments? Okay, I guess you're still typing. We're expecting that response. I just want to be sure that all the departments are here so that I won't just start. And we are taking the time already. At times, Oyelami, your response, please. You're representing which of the departments? Okay, so Oyelami says 62 for ER/HRM. So we have two departments here. I hope I'm right for now. Okay, so can you see my screen? Can you see my screen?
Yes, ma.
Okay, like I said, thank you very much for that response. Until I say you can speak, please, I want you to use the chat box so that we'll have a smooth class. And I want you to be fast in typing as well to get good. It shows that you're responding and you are all here. Okay, so let me see this. Trying to shoot. Okay. So that I can really concentrate and my system, my internet won't be interrupted. So let's go off the video and let's start the class. Chat box. Oh. Okay, so hopefully I will see that. Okay, so in order to start this class and to start it on a very good note, I want to start with this statement from Isabel Allende. Chile is a Chilean author. He says, write what should not be forgotten. And so I would encourage you that the best way to learn, to understand, and to retain is writing. When you write things down, it helps you when you're reading. Even while in class, it helps you to concentrate because while you are writing, you also want to listen carefully so you will write properly. So like this author had said, that you should please write down what you don't want to forget. And I'm sure with what we are going to be doing in our classes, nobody wants to forget. Number one, for exam's sake. Number two, so that you can also use it because there's a purpose for having these classes. and a lot of reasons why you should have it written down. Okay, like I said, and like I asked earlier, I asked if you all had listened, to the class, the regular student class that we had. And you said yes. So before we start, I'm going to be asking you, what is business law? Now, when you came in, or by this semester, when you were about registering your courses, and you saw this course, what was the first thing that came to mind? What were you thinking of? Did you just think, oh, they are going to teach us law, or did it resonate with you? And also, I want you to include the fact that, do you think it is important for you to study this, to take this business law class? I like a response. The chat box will be very nice. Okay, so I've gotten a response. It says, Olanrewaju Ogoji says, business laws are rules and regulations concerning businesses. So thank you very much, Olanrewaju. That's a very good one. So I'm expecting more responses. And that will really propel us and will move us speedily into our next point. And Ogenero says, their business laws are rules and guidelines to guide a business. That's also a very, very sound one. So do you think it's important to study this? Of course, I know people that the school that had brought this together sees the importance in it. But then you as a student, and for a few of you that are working as well, do you see the importance in studying business law? Does it really matter? Do you really need it? Okay, so SCM Wisdom says, business law is the legal code and conduct that guides the operations of businesses. So as regards, thank you very much, SCM. That's a good one. So as regards my question, is it the part B of that question says, is it important? Did you see the importance in it? Why study business law? Why is it important to you? So again, going back to the class, as an actuarial scientist, for that course, why do you need business law? How will it help you? For the employment, relations, and human rights people, why do you need it? I'm expecting more responses. Furthermore to my initial, it's not instruction now, my background that I said. So I want you to please relax in my class. Be free to speak. And that's why I'm saying use the chat box. For a few people that think, oh, if I say this, people would say this, use the chat box. And I don't expect a perfect response, but I just want responses. This is what the responses does for me. It makes me know, oh, where to actually explain the more. And it tells me to go to the next level. That's one, if I know that you know what I'm talking about. It helps me to move to the next level, because for me, I won't go to the next point until you have gotten my initial point. Okay, thank you, Showale. Showale said, studying business law helps us understand business regulations and guidelines. Thank you. Adimora Chioma says, business law helps employees and employers know law guiding their employment. Thank you very much, Chioma, also. Also, Olanrewaju Ogoji says, it helps to protect rights and interests. So thank you, you have done so well. So going forward, although I still need more responses in the chat box, but then going forward, So business law, what is business law? Now, if you look at, so what I'm teaching you is to, not just, because I know I've given you some things to go and watch or listen to now. So what I'm doing is it's like a seal, and it's like something to help you in the place of questions. So I expect that you ask more questions today so that we can trash all of those concerns that came to your mind while you were listening to what we sent to you. So business law, if you look at these two people, they are on the table. Of course, they are trying to strike a deal. Now, when it comes to business, business is not restricted to banking alone. It's not restricted to buying and selling alone. We have businesses that has to do with labor. Like when we talk about business law, it has to do with labor law, anything that has to do with labor. It deals with shipping and admiralty. It deals with various aspects of our lives as human beings. It deals with every aspect of our lives, so as human beings. So you see these people, they are at the table trying to strike a balance. No. So whenever you want to enter into an agreement, or whenever you want to discuss business with any person, what the thing that comes to your mind, or the purpose for that discussion is to reach an agreement. And it is when you reach an agreement that you shake your hands. But then, before you can get to the point of shaking your hands, we need to have all these things penned down. Although not all agreements is penned down. Some are done orally. But then if they are done orally or when they are penned down, what business law is striving to do now is to look at the area of the law. What is the law saying about our agreements? What is the position of the law? As businessmen, we are not training you to be lawyers, but we are training you to be aware, to be conversant, not that we need perfection from you, but to know what the law is saying, at least the principles of the law when it comes to that area of the business you are dealing with. As an architect, as an actuarial scientist, as an HR person, you need to know what the law says about things. It makes you discuss issues intelligently. It makes you reach agreement. It makes you make decisions on the spot. So what we are doing here is to look at the legal aspects of agreements when people come together for businesses. So going forward, I said here, now, business activities, they are not just conducted in vacuum, okay? So they are carried out on certain established principles and rule of law. You can't just say, oh, let's just, I want to enter into contract with you, take this, I take that, that's the end. There are some things that back those contracts up. So, and these rules of law, they are binding on the parties and they can be enforced in the court of law in the cases of disputes. So as it is stated here, business law is a body of enforceable rules, enforceable principles, rules, regulations, and practices that governs the various interactions between parties to a commercial transactions. So when parties want to enter into a business transaction, business law deals with any principles surrounding that transaction, deals with the rules surrounding that transaction, regulation, and the practices in that area of business transaction. Also, business law is the legal framework through which economic and business activities are conducted and they are regulated. So it is very important, even as it's a general thing, because one way or the other, we all are involved in businesses. In as much as you're an employer, in as much as at some point you'll be an employee, you are involved in a business. If you are going to be an employer, you are involved in a business. Or if you are going to be a businessman that does transactions, you are going to be involved in a business. So you need this business law to help you navigate in that area. So then what are the scope of business law? What are the things that business law entails? Okay, so I want responses here. Can you please tell me the scopes of business law? Or in the alternative, let's hold on. Let me just keep going because I just shown the slide so that this will be speedy, all right? So scope of business law. Business law encompasses law of contract, law of agency, sales of goods, hire purchase, law of partnership, company law, industrial law, banking and negotiable instrument, taxation, intellectual properties, shipping and admiralty. Above them all is law of contract. So like it is written here, law of contract is as simple as this definition. It is the branch of business law that regulates the formation, the terms, the performance, the discharge, the remedies for breach of an enforceable of agreements of contract between the parties. So looking at these in pieces, which I'm not going to take too much of your time on, is that business law deals with formation. When you're talking about formation of contracts, then you talk about offer, who makes the offer, who accepts the offer, how is consideration made, how is the consideration made. Then if parties had gone through all of these three phases, does it mean that it is legally binding? I mean, do they have intention for that their agreement to be enforceable in the law court? That's what formation is all about. Formation is like the initial stage of contract, and then we then go to the terms of contract. Now, the terms of contract is in such a way that we have inanimate terms, intermediate terms. These are like terms that parties had said, you know, initially when you want to enter into a contract. You can enter into a contract basically because you are seeing that thing, or maybe you are seeing that thing with somebody before. You have an intention. There's a condition for you to enter into that contract. Those are terms of contract. It could be that, oh, I know you as a friend, and that because this person told me about you, or because I know if you do this, if you enter into this contract with me, then tomorrow you can help me with something. Those are terms of contract. They are basis for which people enter into a contract. And so we also talk about performance. Is it in all cases that parties can perform their part of the contract? There are times that performance can be frustrated. There are times that parties can say, oh, come, let's not go further in this contract. So they can both say, oh, let's go our separate ways and not perform again. So contract also talks about the performance of the contract. Then also contract talks about the discharge. How are parties discharged from their duties in the contract? Then it goes further out. In contract, we are going to talk about the remedies available in contract. And part of these remedies, we have damages, we have rescission, we have specific performance, and so on. So what it means in essence is that people whose rights has been infringed upon in a contractual transaction, the law has some things that can be used to assuage them, can be used to compensate them. So that's when we talk about remedies in the place of breach, and then of breach of enforceable contract. Remember, enforceable contract. If it is not all contracts that are enforceable. So when we get to contract strictly, then we are going to be talking about that. And then we'll be able to touch on all of these things in a broader sense. So that's for contract. So then we also talk about in business law. Please, if there's a question, I'd like you to drop it. And as we're going, I'll also be asking you some questions. All right. So we also have law of agency. This has to do with a situation where parties, even if you had entered into a contract, you may not be available as a person to enforce that contract. You can then get a person to stand in for you as an agent. And in the law, an agent equates the principal. Whatever an agent does in its power, in the power which the principal had given to it, it will be deemed as if it sees the principal that had done it. Now, most of the times, what I notice that people or students not in Faculty of Law do see agency to be as is when it comes to rent and agreements. So they'll say, oh, but it was an agent that did this for us. And although those people can actually be seen as agent in law, but then for a person to be seen as an agent in law, that person must have been given a letter of authority. It's good that it may not even have been written, but then that person must have been given authority by the principal. The principal is the person who had sent the agents. We call them principal in law. And when the principal had given them that authority, whatever, I repeat, whatever that the agent does, it will be seen as if it is the principal that had done it. So business law, we are going to be teaching you a topic on law of agency as well. And so also, when it comes to sales of goods as well, now, it's not strictly, now as it is, although in the sales of goods it's strictly sales of goods, and goods are those things that you can touch, you can feel, but then it's been a little bit extended to services as well. And looking at the students that are taking this course, you do more of services than goods. So, and sales of goods is that branch of law that comes into play when the subject matter of the contract comes within the definition of goods. And when you're talking about goods, you talk about, oh, you want to buy a flask, all those tangible things as it is seen under the Sales of Goods Act. Further, we'll talk about hire purchase. And it is in this course that you'll be seeing that your own notion of what hire purchase is extremely different from what the law says as hire purchase. And so I want you to please, like I started with, ensure you are writing, scribbling things down, because then you can remember, not just for this class, not just for your exams, but as a person who wants to be independent in making good business decisions. Because when you write down, you remember. All right, so going forward, we have the law of partnership. So this is the law that talks strictly on partnership relationship, where two or more persons may decide to come together to form businesses. And the formation of this partnership will be with the view to make profits. So the law of partnership is that branch of the law that regulates the rights, it regulates the liabilities of the parties among themselves. Now, although in our course that we are taking now, we may not be able to touch on all of this, but then we just want you to know that business law also encompasses all of this. Under business law, we are expected to also, business law also covers the company law. And company law is that area of law that deal with the running of business operation. So it talks about the process of incorporation of a company, the management of a company, financing the company, and the extent of the powers that the company has. Also, we have industrial law. Industrial law is that area of law that deals with labor law and so on. And that's where the human resources student comes in. Sorry, hope you can all hear me now. Okay, so going forward, I also said that it has to do with industrial law that deals with labor law and all of that. So it also deals with insurance, law of insurance. Do we have students for insurance here? Okay, so we don't have insurance students here. All right. So oh, yes. Olajide says they are insurance. Okay, so that's good. So we also will be business law also deals with insurance, and insurance, you know, like every business venture entails its various degrees of risks and contingencies. So for, you know, insurance, law of insurance deals with how businesses can insure their business against any risk. So we also have laws that deals on that, and that's business law also covers it. Business law covers banking, negotiable instruments, taxation, intellectual properties. And intellectual property is so important that there is no business that doesn't have its intellectual property. Now, intellectual property covers copyrights, patents, trademarks, industrial designs. Most of our businesses now thrives on trademarks. I mean, when you have a name, you know, by the time you get to a place, okay, let's say for instance, I don't know, because a few of you are working, if you have heard of Yamoria. Yamoria, that name may seem like, oh, just this woman that sells amala. That name is a trade name. Is a name that if another person starts using that name in that campus, that person can still make money with that name. And so you see, intellectual property is also very important when it comes to businesses. Also, business law also deals with, it also deals with shipping and admiralty. Please, at this point, I hope I'm communicating. I hope I'm communicating. Please, I like responses. Okay, so let's go forward. Going forward, let's then talk about Contract law of contract. Please, I want to ask this question. So aside from this that you have just seen, what do you have to say about law of contract? How important, if you can just give me a sentence on the importance of contract law when it comes to human's endeavor, as human, as our daily endeavor. How do you see, aside from, because I intentionally open it so you can see, how important do you see that the contract, out of all of these that I've explained, what do you see? What really comes to your mind? How important do you see law of contracts? And do you think anyone can, in a day, not enter into a contract? Or would I say, I should not commit fallacy now. Can I say, would you agree with me that almost every day we all enter into contracts? It could be oral, it could be written, and all of that. I'm expecting statements from everyone or anybody on how important contract is, the law of contract. Do you think it's important? And if it's important, just please give me a sentence on the importance of it. So Bona says, contract law is important in the sense that it helps both parties reach a common ground and an agreement. Beautiful. It not just only help you, right? It guides. It's a guide. You will know, if this is what we have said, will it be accepted in law? Can I say this person had actually given me money? Because if you are entering into law of contract expects you in your contract, there should be offer, there should be acceptance, there should be consideration, which is money. So Sunday says contract law protects trust and people's rights. Good job. I would actually say that it protects the rights of people and it helps people to trust, even at the end of it, if this person would not honor this part of it, I know I can go to the law and the law would help me enforce this thing. So Mustafa says contract law plays a vital role in promoting commerce, protecting parties' interests, beautiful, and maintaining social order. That is a very, very good attempt. Leonis and Oduneye said something. So Adeshawa said it helps with negotiations. And Leonis Favor said it helps to develop trust. Beautiful. Thank you all. It shows you are really going along with me and that we are communicating. So then, excuse me. So what then is the supremacy? So the law of contracts, it is the foundation. You can say it's even the mother of business law. And why? This is because a contract lies at the root of any business or commercial transaction. If you say you are in insurance, for you to have people insure their things, you need to enter into a contract with them. As employment relations or human rights agents, HR, you deal with the contract agreements of the company, especially the ones that have to do with the employees. Actuarial sciences, you also cannot do all of your work without looking at papers. People saying yes to some things, or you gather information. You do a lot of things. There's no how you can do without contract in every businesses. You can be the employer, you can be the employee. You are still in a contract. And so it is this fair, as a matter of fact, all branch of business law, it represents the application or the adoption of general rules and the principles of law to the peculiarity of this relationship. Let's say, for instance, instead of offer and offer, in a typical contractual relationship, we can have a buyer and we can have a buyer and a seller when it comes to business transaction. Okay, I want to ask somebody, when it comes to employment relation, what are the names of the people that we refer to? You know, in contract, we can have offer, we can have a free. In business, we can have buyer, we can have seller. I'm just saying, to enter into contract, we have different peculiar terms that we use. So in employment relations, what are the names, what are the terms that are basically written in our contractual terms? Please, I want a very positive response. You should really give us a good sense into this. So I'll repeat myself. Did you get my question? Or do you want me to repeat myself? I'm expecting responses in the chat box. I'm not yet seeing anybody. So somebody says salary. Beautiful. Salary is good, but there are some things that must be said even before you say salary. There are very important terms that will be included in the terms of contract, that even before you read the first 5 lines, you would have said that. Someone said job description is okay, but I want something else. Duration of employment. So Ogbonna said he didn't get me. I said, say for example, someone said health and safety. Yes, those things are there. But very important terms that you cannot but talk about. Don't you think if you must draft a contractual term, a contractual agreement in an employment relations, won't you talk about employer-employee? All of this you are saying, yes, Akindele had said the right thing. So I'm just trying to tell you that although we may not have the same thing, you know, you may not, like I said, in contractual terms, you may say, oh, offer or free. In business terms, you say buyer, the seller. In employment relations, you will hear employer-employee. I'm just saying, although the terms that are used in these contractual terms may actually be different, but then they all have the ingredients of contracts. Okay, so like I was saying, so I'm just saying, although we may have different terms, but then every of these businesses deals with contracts. So that's what I'm trying to say. While special rules have actually been developed in some of these aspects of the law, the general principle of law of contract will apply where no special rule exists. So if there's, maybe we are talking about insurance, some things, maybe there are some special rules that are stated in law of insurance. In any of these business transactions, if there's no special rule, the law of contract would prevail, would be what will be used in such contractual terms. Okay? So then, let's then go to the functions of business law. So at this point, am I still communicating? So communicating means that you can understand what I'm saying before I go forward. Okay, so I'm getting yes. So let's just move forward so we can actually round up this section of it. So functions of business law. Number one function of business law is to maintain law, is to maintain order, is generally the primary aim of business law is not different from law in general, okay? What it does is to maintain law and order. So business law aims as it ensures orderliness in various interaction and dealing between parties to commercial transactions. So what business law does is to bring sanity. It's so that you can wake up one day and just walk into a shop and decide to buy from them, because you know that you are entering into a transaction that are enforceable, that, oh, because we have laws on business transaction, if these people will not abide, number one, they will abide, because everybody that owns a business also do not want problems. They want to do their businesses smoothly and live smoothly. But in cases where business would not go smoothly, you know, we have law that can back you up, and order in the sense that you can go to the court of law for your rights to be enforced. So that's one of the function of business law. So the rules in business law are developed on how commercial relations are created, and the respective rights and obligations of parties are protected and enforced. So in any business transaction, all the parties in that business transaction, they have their duties and obligations, and they know that you all have to abide by the rules and the obligations that are stated down in this business transaction, except if if any of them will not do same, you can go to the court. And I don't want anybody in this class to now be having it in mind that who wants to go to court. That's why you are taking this course. That is why you are taking this course. And that's why at the beginning I said it's good to pen these things down. Business law, it helps you as you be going ahead, even in these functions of law. You will know that business law even helps you, it enhances you to make good business decisions. So, like I said, the first function of business law is to maintain law and order. And I hope you agree with me that that's one of the functions of law, is to maintain order. So going forward, we go to justice. How does this really apply to us? So the primary aim of law is to attain justice, so that the aggrieved party will see that justice had been done, and the person who had done wrong will also have to face the very cold hand of the law. And so that is why we say, oh, law, one of the functions of business law is for justice, so that justice will be served on any party that has infringed on another person's rights, on any party that has breached the agreement which parties had entered into. So the aim of business law is not only to maintain order, it also promotes justice in commercial transactions. So justice, like I'm talking about, that I'm really speaking about in this context, it involves to balance the interests of the parties to commercial transactions. So the party A and party B's interests will be balanced when it comes to when either of them had breached the contractual agreement. And so any of them can go to court for their rights, and then justice will be served at the end of the day. You know, we have cases that are in courts that has, we have cases in court that have refused, people that have refused to adhere to strict principle of the law. We have a lot of them in court. And, you know, as also lawyers, we you know, going to court at times, you wonder why people do this. You wonder how people would rent another person's apartment. You wonder why they wouldn't want to pay. You wonder why even they misuse the environment. Or you even wonder why some landlord does what they do. When you have entered into an agreement with somebody and you go in the other way. At times you wonder. And thank God for business law. Thank God for the law. What the law does is that it brings justice to the aggrieved party. So the next point, did you understand the section of justice? Do you understand what I mean by justice? Okay, so let's keep going. So let's talk about remedy. So when we are talking about remedies, law doesn't just bring it doesn't bring order alone. It doesn't just give you justice. It also gives you justice in the place of remedies. Remedies, like I said earlier, we have remedies in form of damages, which are like compensation. If as a tenant, a landlord comes to your house, or a landlord, you have agreed with the landlord that, oh, if I repair this part of the house, which is the landlord that is supposed to repair it, you are going to pay me back. And the landlord refused to pay you back, and you are able to back up your statements by documents. Of course, the law will grant you all the prayers that you have asked of if you have documents to back up your claims. And the law, most of the time, will not just grant you the contents, the payment that you are expected to be given. The law will also grant you some other additional damages, maybe what you have suffered, maybe traumas that you have suffered. That is another thing that is sweet about the law. So while you are studying this business law, its function is such that as a businessman, as a business person, as an employee, as an employer, you know that you not only go to court for justice, you also go to court to be compensated, to get back home and feel that, yes, the courts, or would I say the states, had you in mind. And so things will not just go as if we are in a primitive environment. And so we have remedies, like I said, in forms of damages. Damages comes like in monetary compensation. We also have remedies in form of rescission. When you enter into a contract with somebody and maybe the person had misrepresented informations to you, the person had given you fraud, had given you false information, the court would deem the contract as if you did not enter into contract. So the court will say, oh, give back this person. If maybe you had paid the money to this person before, the court would retrieve your money back from that person and can even give additional damages. In your mind, you may be like, is it as simple as that? I'm telling you, it is as simple as that. And most of the times, why a few people hadn't experienced this is because when people have done you wrong, you think, oh, just let it go. Of course, we are not saying you shouldn't let it go. But there is no harm in trying to approaching the courts for remedies. You may be thinking, oh, but lawyers' money and all of that. Let me tell you, at times, especially if you have a house that you manage, you own a place, you need to show examples at times. Even if it will not be that you're taking all the tenants to court, you just need to show example from one person. By the time they know that one person had gone through the hell, others would do right by you. People would respect you, okay? So I hope that remedies had been taken and had been understood. So what law also does is, business law is for legal protection. So there are some certain rules of contract that have been developed basically to ensure that a group of people are not exploited or defrauded. So in a contractual relationship, because of their circumstances, So, for example, the law protects illiterate people. The law protects infants, children. The law protects drunkards. The law protects companies. Because over the time, we have seen people try to defraud these people, to exploit this set of or category of legal personality that I've just mentioned. So what the law does is to protect them. Also, another function of the business law is to promote trade and commerce. And so, as an HR manager, the function, why do you have to study this law? It helps you to know what is this trade. Although I'm an HR in this company, which can actually be an architectural firm, it can be any, you need to know what the law is on this firm, what the law is on business law. It helps you, it prompts you to be the best at your work and helps you to promote your trade in its totality. Okay, so for instance, without the development of company law, the undertaking of commercial transaction on wide or international dimension may have been possible. Business law has so much made our companies, you can have company in Nigeria doing businesses with companies in the USA. And that's because we have business law and we have company law, which regulates our activities here. And also people in diaspora, foreigners, they know we have laws that if we infringe upon it, they themselves can rely on those laws. And so they can do business with us freely. Okay? So at this point, am I still communicating? And if you have any question, please, I'd like you to ask any question. I have like 5 minutes for your rest, for your question and answers. If not, maybe we'll go ahead. Okay, so let's just go ahead. But if you have any question, you can drop it. So then, why study business law? Why do you have to study business law? Number one, for prompt decision making. And I want you to please be attentive at this section. So, as business personality, as an employer, as an employee, things often happen so quickly in practice that a businessman cannot consult his lawyer before he makes snap decisions. There are times that you just need to make some decisions that you don't have lawyers around you to ask. In fact, there are times that you may even have sent a message to a lawyer friend that he hasn't responded and that you need to give that response immediately. Business law that you have studied would help you to make informed and good decisions snappily. Okay? Another point that it enables businessmen to engage in discussions with insight and with intelligence. So, a knowledge of business law will enable that business person to discuss matters intelligently. If you are in the business environment, you are with business colleagues, you are with your employer, you are with your employee. By the time they hear what you are saying, as a person who has passed through business law, they know how to deal with you. They know they cannot fumble with you as a businessman because you are speaking with some level of authority. You are speaking with some levels of certainty. And so it's made them to deal with you with all respect, number one, and also gives you that boldness that you need as a business person, as an employer, as an employee, and all of that. So the next point says, it bridges the gap. Sometimes at a lawyer cannot give practical advice. Let me give this example. as a businessman, if you have passed through business law, there are times that you can make some decisions. You can decide not to follow the decision or the advice of your solicitor because it pays you to give damages than losing some contract. So, you know, some lawyers cannot give practical advice sometimes because a lawyer may not know the business that you are doing your business. A lawyer may not know your business thoroughly. So that businessman may be able to bridge the gap between the rule of law and the knowledge of his business. I mean, between the rule of law and his experiences. Let's say, for instance. So there may be a circumstance where a businessman may find that it is less costly to breach a contract and pay damages to the aggrieved party rather than dogmatically abide by the law. You know, here I'm just talking about be smart as a businessman. As a businessman, there are times that it pays you to just breach the law. I am not saying you should breach the law. I'm just saying if you are known what the law is saying, and or if you can really move alongside with your solicitor, there are times that you feel, oh, come, it is better that I breach this law and then pay damages. That damages may not even be compared to what you would have lost if you hadn't breached that law. Please, I need do you understand what I just said? Did you understand what I mean by bridging the gap? Okay, so beautiful. So somebody said, let me see this gentleman. He said, Uthman said, if you want to rent an apartment, and the agent said that you should not worry that he would only be given a receipt, that there's no contractual agreement, a tenancy agreement. Now, it is important that you get a tenant agreement, a tenancy agreement. But if they will not give you a tenancy agreement, the most important paper that you need in that instance is the receipt. If they have given you a receipt, now we have tenancy agreement, we have tenancy law in Lagos State or all over the country. If there's no tenancy agreement, then the law on tenancy would take preeminence. The law of contract will take preeminence. You know, I had mentioned sometimes ago in my explanation that when there is no specific as regards a topic, contract law will be used as a basis. So if you don't have a contract agreement, a contractual agreement, a tenancy agreement, then a law of contract will take will be used in that instance. So Uthman, if there's no tenancy agreement, if there's any problem in the future, you can sue to court and the court will use the tenancy agreement and the tenancy law of Lagos State or any state and also use the law on contracts. I hope you are getting me and I hope that has resolved your concerns. Okay, going forward, let's talk about the next point. It says it enables, okay, a knowledge of business law will enable the businessman to run the business as much as possible in a litigation-free approved manner. When you are, as a person that has gone through business law and you are in the HR the department of your organization, you will be able to manage that department in such a way that there will be little or no litigation at all. Litigation means court cases. There will be little or no court case at all because you will be following the law. If I were you, as a person who works in the HR department, I will get the laws, industrial law of Lagos State, industrial law in Nigeria and read it, hook, line, and sinker. And I'll make sure I update myself with cases on law, on employment and labor. And so also go to people in insurance. If you are working in the, maybe you are one of their personnel, your insurance, your company will have little or no litigation. If you are a person that had really sat down in business law and had really taken down what is expected of you, your company will have little or no litigation at all. Because God forbid for you to know all the law, but you know where the laws are. You can download all these laws that has to do with insurance, laws on contract law, law on all of these things, and you begin to read them. You get yourself accustomed to it, together with what we are doing in this class, and it enables you. It makes you, it makes you the best at what you do. And also, if invariably or you now go to court, as a business, as a person who had gone through this law, gone through this course, you will be able to understand and assimilate what your lawyer is saying. There are times, most of the times, excuse me, please. Okay, so like I'm saying, invariably, if your case goes to court, like I was saying, I wanted to give an example. There are some times that you go to court and you hear some litigant say, my lawyer has been giving bribe. All of these things he's saying, I don't even understand. He will say something yesterday, he will say another thing today. It's because they don't understand what the man is saying. If you had gone through this course, you will be able to understand your lawyer very well. In fact, you'll be asking some intelligent questions that your lawyer would know that, oh, I am not working for an illiterate. I am working for a literate who actually knows his onions, who knows what he's doing. And so that is the reason why you have to study this. And that's why you have to pay attention. So I hope I can get this message. So, Uthman, we'll keep talking about it, but let me see. If Uthman says, if I enter into an employment agreement to work for a company for a stipulated year, but I later realized that it is one-sided, how do I terminate the contract? Thank you. Now, what you said by it being one-sided, are you sure that it is not one-sided according to you? I hope this one-sidedness you're saying is according to the law. Because there are some times that we make up our own laws by ourselves. Ensure that you have read all the laws on employment and labor, and ensure that what you are saying that is one-sided is actually one-sided. And so if it is one-sided, of course you can terminate it. If the rules of law, if the law actually allows for that, you can always tender a letter of resignation or call the attention of your employer to it and ask for another meeting where you can review the terms of contract. I hope this had helped you. Okay, so let's go forward, please. And so now, if you are saying, oh, business law is very good for you, you need business law to make you conversant, to make you articulate, to make you know your onions. We are saying business law is so important to you that with it, you discuss amongst people and they respect what you say. Even not being a lawyer, you are saying things that are very intelligent, that they can actually learn from you. So what are the sources of law? What are the sources of business law? So I will ask a question and I need a very wonderful response now. I want to ask, I made mention here, I said we have two sources of business law. We have primary sources of business law and we have the secondary sources of business law. So the primary sources of English business law is, Mr. Uthman, I want you to please listen to my class as well, okay? I will be responding to you. But it seems I have 30 minutes, so I want to run through this as well so that everyone will also gain. You are raising up your hand. Please, I would have loved that you type in what you want to type. It works for me when you type it, okay? So that I can be doing it. I won't be interrupted. Thank you. So, sources, I asked that, I said, oh, so number one, sources of business law under the primary sources of business law is the received English law. And having it in mind that I've given you a link to go and listen to. Why is English law a source of law in Nigeria? Why is English law a source of law in Nigeria? I need your response. I'm waiting in the chat box, waiting for you, so that we have less than 33 minutes to conclude this class. Why is English law a source of law in Nigeria? I'm not getting responses. So that means that the things I told you to go and listen to, you did not listen to it. I think we are going to, I don't appreciate that. So if I would take my time to do that for you, I think it's good on your part to also do the needful. And listening to it is not that I'm saying read it. You can always be reading it when you are in the vehicle. You can listen to all these things when you are in the sitting room, or sorry, in the bedroom, anywhere in the kitchen. You can listen to these things. So it will be very, it will not be nice that I give you these things and you don't listen to them. Okay, so yes, beautiful. I've seen some responses here. Ogbonna says because it was received from British, we were colonized by them. Uthman says we were colonized by the British, so we got it from them. Okay, so Adewale also says that because Nigerian was beautiful, and that's a very good response that I've gotten. I wish that everyone had given me a response, because you all that listened to that thing, to what was sent to you. Okay, so it's as simple as that. So received English law is a sort of Nigerian law because we have historical link to the Britain. You know, we're colonized by them and all of that. And so the received English law governs the new commercial concepts and relationship, which is developed in Nigeria. You know, and so under the received English law, it can be divided into three. The received English law can be divided into three. We have the common law, we have the doctrine of equity. So maybe I should just scribble something down here. Common law, doctrine of equity, and statutes of general applications. Statutes of general application. So we can see this. It can also be abbreviated to SOGA. Okay, so under the received English law, we have the common law, we have the doctrine of equity, and we have the statutes of general application. So when we are talking about common law, it refers to the principles and the rule of law which are applicable in the whole realm of British then. We call them the local customs. We call them the local customs that applies to the particular area. So the very distinctive feature of common law is that they are made by judges. I want you to put that in mind. Common law are made by judges. And they are made by judges through the cases that they decide. They are made by judges through the cases that they sit upon. I want you to please talk to me. What is common law? I need responses in the chat box. What is common law? Who are those that make common law and how do they make common law? Please, I want you should type very fast, please. So we won't waste our times. Who make common law and how do they make it? And if you don't understand it, please let me know. So nobody is talking, nobody is writing, rather, nobody is writing. And if you don't understand, I want to know. That's why I'm asking questions. Beautiful. Essence says common law are made by judges. How do they make them? Common law is a legal system that is based in custom, tradition, and judicial decisions. Yes. Who are those that make them? Common law is a system of law that is based on social decisions and this. I want you to please give me an example. No, and a very easy way. It's like I'm noticing that, okay, common law are made by judges from previous cases that they have presided upon. I think that is good. Obonayat, you know, if they sit on a case, whatever decision they make on that case becomes the law. Beautiful. Thank you, everyone who have done so well. And so let's move to the doctrine of equity because we don't have much time. So equity simply means fairness. It simply means justice. Equity means fairness. It means justice. So equity was developed to mitigate the harshness of the rules of common law that leads to injustice. You know, while these common law were made, it was noticed that, you know, while these judges are making this law, some of these laws that are made, they are unjust to some people. You know, they are very unjust. Some people will not get, they will not get enough compensation or may not even get compensation at all. So then equity came in to come and bring about fairness and justice. Okay, let's say for instance, at common law can only award damages and it can have no power to grant, it has no power to grant injunction or specific performance in cases of breach of contract. So I will repeat or give example in that case. So when it comes to common law, under common law can only grant you damage, but you cannot get injunctions from common law. You cannot get specific performance from common law. So what I mean by injunction is to say, oh, whatever you are doing that is wrong, the court will say you should stop doing it. Or whatever that you are doing that you are not supposed to, or you are doing that you are supposed to do it. Or maybe you are doing something or that you agreed to do something and you did not do it. The law, the equity under common law cannot say you should go and do it. It has no power to say go and do something. It can only grant damages when the breach has been done. When the damages had been done, it can only give you compensation on damages. Okay? But what equity does is that equity grants not only damages, it grants injunctions and it grants specific performance. So maybe you enter into an agreement with somebody that they'll be paying installmental payments for you. But then at the first installment, they did not pay. Second installment, you can quickly run to court and ask that under equity, that will be granted specific performance, that they should perform what they expect to perform. But under common law will say, but you should wait now till they did not pay at the end of the due payments. And by so doing, it may affect your work. You that you're expecting to get some things gradually, you are not getting it. Common law, you say you should wait till the instrumental payments are not paid fully. But under equity comes to say, come, that person that is not doing what's expected of him, it will be specific, it will be asked to make specific performance, to perform what is expected to do specifically. Please, do you understand what I'm saying? Do you understand me? So then let's go ahead to SOGA. What is SOGA? It's not SAGO. Okay. Okay, so what is SOGA saying? So SOGAs are like statutes that are made in England before the first day of January 1900. There are laws that are made in England before 1900. And among these laws, we have the Sales of Goods Act, we have the Factory Act, and so on and so forth. So then, now we have talked about the received English law. What is the Nigerian? Then let's move to, okay, I think I'm seeing some things in the chat box. Okay, so that means we are communicating. So the Nigerian legislations or statutes, let's talk about that. Another source of business law is the Nigerian legislations. And under these legislations, we have legislations like the Company and Allied Matters Act. We have the Labor Act. We have the Partnership Act. We have the Trade Union Act. We have the Insurance Act. All of these acts are those acts that are used in these sections of businesses. When you're talking about insurance, we have the act, we have the law on insurance. And so these are laws that are made by our own legislators. You sit down, we have the senators, and we have the Senate, we have the House of Representatives. We also have them, the State House of Representatives and all of that. What they do is they make law, and they make business laws as well. So they make laws on businesses, on partnership, and all of that. So going to case law as well. Who can tell me what case law is or judicial precedents? What is case law? You either call them case law or judicial precedents. I'm trying to wait for responses, but please, in the process, I don't want you to take too much of my time. What is case law? And if you don't know it, please just write we don't know so that I can go ahead. What is case law or judicial precedents? Okay, so I have one chart here. So they are law formulated from previous court cases. Beautiful. Thank you, Chioma. Like Chioma said, case laws or judicial precedents, they are law. Okay, I'm seeing some more. They are laws that are formulated from previous court cases. So the way when you see judges make decisions, all these decisions that they have made so far, they are also laws because they can guide in future when such cases are before the law. are before any other court, although courts that are below them or their own courts. Mustafa says case law is a vital source of law that provides guidance for future cases. Beautiful. They are not just source of law. They are laws that are formulated by those cases when a court sits over a case and it makes decision on that case. Whatever decision that court has made becomes law. And so if such a case is brought in the nearest future, in that court or in a lower court, a lawyer can use that decision as a basis in the new court, in the new case. Thank you very much. So let's go to delegated legislations. So delegated legislations, they are made by other government agencies and officials to whom the legislations are delegated its lawmaking powers to. And most of the times we call them bylaws, we call them orders, we call them rules, we call them instruments, and so forth, and so on and so forth. Okay, so let me give you an example of this. I hope I can be able to express myself to you very well. Now, in law, when you go to court, we call something rules. We call them rules of courts. Rules of court, they are not made by legislators. They are not made by the Senate or the House of Assemblies. These rules of courts, they are made by the judges. The judges or the Judicial Council, they sit together and try to say, oh, if this happens, what are the procedures? What are the rules? What are the ways to handle this situation? So we have a hand raised up. Can you please write your concerns in the chat box, please? Write your question in the chat box. Thank you. So those are delegated legislation. Like I said, there are rules, there are bylaws, and so on and so forth. So the secondary sources that we have, they are customary law. And so I wrote here, I said Owele. So customary law, they are laws that are known to our customs. And the only way they can be acceptable is that they are not repugnant to natural justice. What I mean by it not being repugnant to natural justice is that it does not negate, it does not go against what the laid down legislations are saying. And also, it is not barbaric. I am sorry to use that statement in this context. You know, for example, there are some places where we still have this thing called Oro. I think they do it in, it's still done in, where is this? Ikorodu at times. I don't know if I'm right. It may not just be Ikorodu. It may be done in other, but I know of Ikorodu that they will say, oh, some people, Oro in itself is a custom that I am not saying it is wrong. But in those days, the way it is being conducted is such that anyone that is found when that thing is being done, those people are killed. And they are used for ritual. That is what we call repugnant to natural justice. It is against natural justice to kill your fellow man if they are not done you wrong. If it's not the court that is saying, go and kill this person because he had killed another or he has done this. An innocent man who may be a visitor in that area that was just walking by and became a victim of that circumstance, most of the time are killed. Under the custom, under the laws of, under our legislation, it is repugnant to natural justice. It can be said in courts, it can be said to be barbaric. So I may say that being sensitive to traditionalists here, I am saying that so we know that there are some customs that may not be acceptable. And there are still some customs that over the years they have come to stay and they have nowhere to go because they are customs and they have been approved And I made the example of Owo Ile. So when you are talking about Owo Ile, most of the times, I think they do it for those that want to buy cars. But let me just come to the place that I don't know if anyone here, you have gone to, there was a time I was traveling back from Ilorin and I branched at a small market. In those areas, they may have their market days at 5 days interval. So we went there and we bought yams. And after paying for the yams, we were going and the woman was really angry, was fighting, was running after us and saying, we have not paid Owo Ile. He said, Owo Ile is 500 naira. And we're like, but we bought something from you. We had paid you. And they said, that's the custom there, that you have to pay for the place where they have put the yam for you to come and buy. And, amongst us in the vehicle, we have senior lawyers amongst us. The senior lawyers were saying, come, there's nothing we can do about it because that's the law. And that's the custom. And so the law also upholds the custom and is also a source of law, is also a source of business law in that area. It's a business that we have gone to buy something in a business environment. We are going to do some transaction that it was the custom of that environment that made us pay additional money. And we also abide by it because it's the law. Okay, so let me see. It's like there's a question here. Ogbonna says, is the Nigerian constitution also a source of crime? Yes. Nigeria's constitution is one of the Nigerian legislations. Okay? Because it's a primary one. In fact, it's most important for us. All right. So I hope I've explained, I've responded to you. Okay, so we also have international laws when it comes as source of business law. And so the international laws we have are, for example, we have the United Nations international transactions, treaties and protocols that deals with international transactions. We have International Labour Organization, ILO, and that's when we are talking to the employment and labor people amongst us. We also have the African Union. We have their treaties, we have their rules, we have their laws that also are binding on us as a nation, especially those that we have ratified and we have enshrined in our laws. We also have the ECOWAS rules and their laws that are binding on us. So also, we also going, and that's for international law. Also some books are also sources of business law. As a business, as a person who wants to go into any sphere, whatever you think you are doing under that thing you're studying, you have a lot of books that you can always read upon, and it makes you better in that place. And I would be advising you that whatever thing you find yourself doing, ensure that you equip yourself. Go and buy books. You can search online for prominent authors in that area. Look for their books and read those books because they are sources of law as well. We also have legal dictionaries. We have the Black's Law Dictionary that can help you to understand all these basic concepts. We have periodicals, we have newspaper reports, and we have essays. We have journal. We have online journals and all that you can always revert to. Please, at this point, am I still communicating? We have 10 minutes to end this class, and I still have a few things to share with you. Am I still communicating, or do you need me to explain something to you? I'm expecting your response in the chat box. It's okay to say you don't understand. I hope you know. I am just saying, yes, ma, understood. Okay, we are going ahead. If you don't understand, do not hesitate to write there. All right. Okay, so let's go ahead. Let's go to our next slide. So our next slide is on the rule of interpretation. And I'm sure that you have read it or you have listened to it when I sent it to you. Now, what the rule of interpretation is on is that it talks about all these laws that I have just mentioned. I have mentioned laws now. I've mentioned the received English law and all of that, Nigerian legislations, this, that. How are these laws interpreted when parties go to courts? How do the courts interpret them? They interpret them by using this interpretation, the rules of interpretation. One says the literal rule. And literal rule means when you are talking about the ordinary meaning of a law. Another one says the golden rule. The golden rule of interpretation tries to modify the literary meaning in order to avoid where a law will be seen as being absurd, will be seen as being incoherent with common sense. When you're talking about mischief rule will now look at, is there something that is wrong somewhere that this law wants to correct? And so it brings us to this little examples that I have here. And so my example here says, for example, in literary rule, if you have an agreement with another person and says, you have to make this payment within the next 30 days. But that person did not make the payment until the 31st day of the month. Under the literary rule, we are applying the ordinary meaning. The ordinary meaning will not look, maybe it was because the bank made a mistake, it was because somebody had an accident, it was because the child was in the hospital. No. If the court wants to apply the common rule, the literary rule, the court will just say you have wronged, and so you pay damages or whatever, or you'll be punished or you'll be penalized. And so at times, the literary rule is not totally very okay because it doesn't look at anything. It just goes straight. Although some judges like to use the literary rule so that they don't commit some things that can backfire on them next time. Because when you start interpreting, then you start going, at times you may even go outside of what the law had accepted. Because if some people say, if I can accept 31 days, then I can accept the 32, till you get to a non-finished period. So let's go ahead to the golden rule. Please, if you don't understand me, call me back, okay? The golden rule says that, I'm going to give you an example. Or maybe I should use the example that I have used before. The golden rule says that even if we have agreed that it should be paid between the first 30 days, the golden rule can accommodate day 31 based on some emergencies. Number one, maybe on that day there was an accident, or maybe on that day you had sent it, but it was hanging. You had to go, when you sent it, maybe you have 500,000 in your account, and you have sent the 500,000 to somebody, the person who you are owing or whom you have to pay debt to, and the money did not drop on that day because, there are times that you send some money that they will say they will revert or something, they will reverse it, and they won't reverse it until 3 days. Those are the things that the court will consider when they want to apply the golden rule. The court will consider emergencies. And I said, while it shares the goal of achieving fairness or avoiding injustice, it is similar to the principle of equity because it wants to attain fairness and justice. I hope I'm communicating. Please try to understand this. So the next one, which is the mischief rule. So, you know, there are times that when a law is made, the purpose for which the laws are made is to correct some abnormality. And so I gave an example here. I said that, you know, when in the rule, when it comes to production of drugs and of food now, they will say, the law will say that you should write all the vendors must provide, okay, this is it. It should write that all the vendors must provide all the ingredients in the products. And the main purpose of this law is not just that you give us the ingredient, is such that they will be able to list the food that are labeled allergens, something that may be allergic to some people. But these are what some manufacturers does. They will not write anything on allergens. They will just go ahead and write, you know, let's say, for example, chin-chin. You have a packed chin-chin. They could just write that you have flour, you have butter, you have sugar, you have oil. Some of them in it, they may not add that they have added a little bit of granules. Or what else is that can be allergic, that people can be allergic to? I think, let me go with peanut butter or something. Some of them may add it to it. It may be like a secret ingredient. They may add it to it. And they know if they list it among the things that had been said to be listed. Some people that are allergic to groundnut will not buy it. And so if this kind of a case, if somebody who's allergic to groundnut buys it and he had rashes or he had reactions to it and he actually sues the court, how would the court interpret that? The court will look at that rule of courts, or the court will look at that law and try to think that what exactly does the law want to achieve? The law wants to ensure that allergens, those that are allergic to this product, do not eat this product. And if a person who is expected to list all of these things did not list everything, he cannot hide under the guise that he has listed some things. The court will say, what of these other things that you have not listed? And so the court will use the rule, the mischief rule, in order to punish that person that has been mischievous. Did you understand me? Okay. Do you understand me? With this example, I hope you can understand me. Okay. So that is it for statutes. That is it for interpretation of statutes and all of that. Okay, so let's go to our next court system. I'm not going to do much on this because you have actually listened to it. And again, I have done like a diagram here that would really help. And because of our time, you may have to go and look at this diagram in your own spare time. Let me see if I can put it here. So it's in the chat room. I sent it to everyone. I hope you can see it so that I can actually, as I'm doing this, you can also be. So under this diagram, let me enlarge it. Okay. Okay, so we said the highest court in Nigeria is the Supreme Court. So the Supreme Court is the highest court in Nigeria that takes, and it's the final court that as a businessman, as an employer, as an employee, you can take your case to. Anything, any decision that is made by the Supreme Court is the final decision, and it cannot be altered. The next court is the Court of Appeal. Or maybe the best way to do it, let me start from the customary court, the area court and the Sharia courts. These courts, they are like the basic courts that people really apply to, especially when it has to do with cases on customs, cases on the Islamic laws. You know, they go to these courts. They are like initial court. They are small claims courts. In this court, you do not take cases of murder, all these stringent cases, you do not take it to this court. Appeals, if a decision is made in the customary court, appeal from the customary courts or the Sharia courts goes to this place, goes to the Sharia Court of Appeal and the customary court of appeal. So when you have cases that has to do with stealing of maybe a large amount of money, or like up to a sum of money, all this criminal, all this stealing and all of that, all these battery and all of that, you can take them to magistrate courts. So for magistrate courts, they don't take murder cases. Magistrate doesn't take murder cases. They will not take cases on rape, but they take at least some level of simple offenses. You know, so then appeals from the magistrate courts goes to the high courts. Okay, but then you notice that here we have a lot of courts on this pedestal. We have the high courts. We have the federal high court. The federal high courts, for the high courts, we have high courts. We have the federal high court. The federal high court, they are courts that handle cases of federal nature. Maybe that has to do with federal jurisdiction. They handle cases on intellectual properties and lots more. We also have high courts that handle cases on states cases, not federal cases now. All right. Then we have the National Industrial High Court. Who can tell me what this court is about? What are the cases that National Industrial High Court and Industrial Court takes? We have a few minutes. Let's be fast. Nobody is talking. I wish I can get a response. It should really help our discussion. Okay, so I've gotten one. So thank you. This person said that it deals with labor, especially employer-employee relations. Thank you all. I got that. You know, so it shows that you actually, a few of you are listening to it, or that you are even following, you are going along with me. We also have the Sharia court. Like I said, appeals from customary court, Sharia court goes to the Sharia Court of Appeal and the customary court of appeal. So every appeal, and what I mean by appeal is that if there's anyone who has taken his case to any of these four courts, and he feels that the decision of the court is not just enough, he can take his case further. He can appeal to the Court of Appeal. And when they appeal to the Court of Appeal, if still yet they think, oh, the Court of Appeal hadn't given me justice as I want it, that person can go to the Supreme Court. And the Supreme Court is the highest court of the land. And that is it for the court system. Please, you have a question? We have come to the end of the class. Do you have a question? Are you tired already? You have a question? In the absence of no question, please. Okay, so Oreluwa says no, he has no question. Okay, so let's just go ahead and end the class. And so here I said, so I may just be dropping nuggets like this as time goes by. I said, be the change. You know, a lot of times we all are saying Nigeria is good, Nigeria is bad, Nigeria is this. If you need to see a change, if you are actually expecting to see a change, so what I'm writing to you this evening says, be the change that you want to see in the world. So as you go ahead with your normal functions, Be nice, be kind, let your words be filled with that would encourage another person, that will lift the spirit of another person, that will make the nation or the world a better place to stay. Thank you. God bless you. Do have a better evening. Bye.